Good evening. It was requested of me to show a video of how I set up everything for the Pokemon 2-player challenge. I want to do that right now. Hopefully it's pretty clear and concise. We're going to have 5 things we're going to go through. It should be pretty short, pretty quick and easy. But what you're going to want to do first is, of course, make sure you have the game and the emulator. I'm not going to link to anything for those. It's on you, the viewer, to get those legitimately. But once you have those, you're going to want to download the things that are in item 1, and I'll have links in the description for all these, so you're not going to have to worry about trying to find those. But you're going to want the patch itself. You're going to want flips, which is an IPS patcher. If you have one you already use, that's perfectly fine. You could probably use that. Just flips is the one that I know. You're going to want to download JoyToKey and possibly Parsec, but we'll get into that towards the end. So once you have all that, you're going to want to open up flips, and you're going to want to hit apply patch. And so it's going to ask you for the patch, and we have it right here. Then it's going to want to ask you for your file, your original file. So you would choose that. This is only going to work on Pokemon Blue, no other Pokemon games, so don't try to do something with that. And it doesn't work with the randomizer. We've had people try to go through with the randomizer with certain settings, but the way that this patch is coded, it legitimately messes with a bunch of stuff in the RAM or the ROM of the game, and it doesn't work with the randomized ROM. So you're stuck with Pokemon Blue, but hopefully you just have fun with that anyway. So you would choose that, and it would create a new name for you. So you would call it whatever you wanted to, but it would be .gb at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and call this test.gb. Patch was applied successfully. Awesome. And then what you're going to want to do is load up your ROM. So I use VBA for Game Boy ROMs. This should work on any emulator. So I'm going to go ahead and open up test.gb. Hopefully the audio is not going to blare us out. I'll go ahead and just have this here. What's it sound like? Please don't be super loud. Oh, you can't even hear it. That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and pause this so I don't have to hear it. Now, in here, you're going to find your controllers. Now, these emulators, they have controller 1, controller 2, controller 3, controller 4. Game Boys only had one controller. It was the controller itself, right? So these emulators aren't going to be looking, or at least this game, Pokemon, isn't going to be looking for multiple controllers, and that's why we need JoyToKey. So what you're going to want to do is configure controller 1, and this is going to give you the list of everything that you want to set up for the controls of the game. Now, I have all of these as part of the numpad on the right side of my keyboard, and you might think, okay, that super sucks for having to go through and play the game that way. But these aren't actually going to be what we use to play the game. You're going to want to set buttons that you're not usually going to use on the keyboard. At least in my case, and in Lily's case, who I'm playing this with, we stream, and so if we're going to be typing in the chat, we don't want to be typing on something and have that actually affect what's going on in the game at the same time. So I set all these up on my numpad, and it works perfectly fine. You're not actually going to be pressing these buttons. So once you set these up, and they can be in any order you want, as long as you can see this at the same time that you're going to mess with JoyToKey. So we loaded the ROMs. We put these in for our controls. I'm not going to change these because these are what I'm actually using currently for the challenge we're doing. I don't want to mess that up. And then what you're going to want to do is open JoyToKey. There you are. So with JoyToKey, this is a program that allows you to map a controller you have connected to your keyboard. And this is, I've used this before for things like Final Fantasy VIII on Steam. A lot of the configurations on Final Fantasy VIII for a controller don't allow you to actually press L2 and R2 at the same time, even though that's how you run away from the game. So you use something like JoyToKey to bind two buttons or 2 keys on one button on your controller, and that'll let you run away. Stuff like that. That's kind of the purpose of this. So for JoyToKey, you can actually create a profile. Create a new profile. Test. And it's going to have X amount of joysticks. Now, you're only going to need 2, but if you needed to have more than that, you would click on Options, and then you would just hit 3, 4, 1, whatever you wanted to do. But what we're going to do, I'm actually going to go ahead and plug in the first controller right now. Whichever one that might be. Okay, so that's right here. So if I go ahead and move buttons on here, you can see JoyToKey's picking that up for the controller. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, if I look over at the joypad setup on the emulator, I see that up is number 7. So if I hit up on the controller, it's POV for this controller. It might be something different for yours, but this is what this is. So I'm going to double click on that, and then I'm just going to hit numpad 7. And then likewise, right I see is numpad 4 on the joypad on the emulator. So I'll click here, we got 4. Down is 8. I'm only going to do these right here, and left is 9. Okay. So, and then you would do this for A and B, start and select, which you can't see, hang on. Start and select, L and R, whatever you wanted to do for those controllers. Now, I'm going to go ahead and plug in the second controller. And unfortunately, I think this will pick it up. Oh gosh, I hated that. Okay, well, when I did that, JoyToKey swapped what was what. So let me go ahead, 7. Down is 8. Left is 9. Oh, yeah, and wait, down is 8, mispressed. And right is 4. Okay. This is an example. You would want to set that for your other ones. So that when I plugged in my second controller, it just kind of shifted over. And that might happen to you, but it's easy enough. Just once you have all your controllers set in, and that might be the easiest thing to do. Plug in every controller you're going to use first, and then you can see which one is set to joystick 1, which one is set to joystick 2. But let me go ahead and press around on here. Up, right, down, left. Okay, so the second controller is picking that up as well. Now, and just to show, we've got a N64 controller for that one. So this is for specifically if you're going to be playing this with a friend in the same physical location. So if we go to the emulator now, and just get out of that, unpause, I might actually need a button. Oh my goodness. Sorry about that. So start is numpad slash A is button 7, which is numpad 5. That should be fine. Alright. Unpause. Alright, so with the N64 controller, I did that, and it's letting me control that, but at the same time, with the Super Nintendo pad, I can also control that. And pause that. So, like I said, that's for the same physical location. Now, there's a giant body of water that is separating myself from Mini Lily. And it might not even be something as drastic as that. It could be that somebody you want to play with is in a different town, different neighborhood, different state, whatever. The way that we get around this, because emulators these days, they don't really have a good way of net play, is Parsec. And I'm not going to bring up the Parsec window on screen because it has some sensitive information for the people that I play with. But if you download Parsec and you load it up, you're going to have to create what's it called, a peer ID. And then on their home screen, you're going to want to click Add Friend. And both people will have to create this. You'll click on Add Friend, and it's going to ask you to type friend name or ID. And you'll be able to exchange that with each other. You'll become friends. And then from there, you have one person that's going to host, and the second person that's just going to be remoting in to your computer. And they'll be able to see what is going on with hopefully as little lag as possible. Now, I play with Minnie Lily, she's super far away, and we're under 100 millisecond ping, and for Pokemon Blue, you don't really care. That's fine. But yeah, once your friends on Parsec, if you need to do it that way, one person's going to request access to your computer. It'll pop up at the bottom of the screen. You'll hit accept, and then you'll be set up. Now, for the controllers, it's probably for the best that you both have them plugged in at the same time, so you can see which one's joystick 1, which one's joystick 2, and JoyToKey, because this is how you're going to have to set it up. You'll be having your controller on JoyToKey, and you'll set it up, whatever one it was, joystick 1 or joystick 2. And then your friend will have their controller, and hopefully your computer recognizes it from that distance. It should. And you'll have to fill it in for them on your side, the side that's going to have the emulator and the game playing. And after that, you should be good to go. Now, if you have any questions or I didn't explain something clear enough, please ask questions in the comments. I will answer. I want to make sure I got everything out I had to get out about this. But yeah, enjoy, have fun. The way this ROM, if you haven't seen some of the videos, the way this game works is you choose what move you're going to use, and then there's an additional text box saying enemy's turn. The second player then gets to choose a move, use an item. It can try to run, but you can't run away in trainer battles, or switch Pokemon. So that's a new added feature. And that's when they would take over. But you have to be careful with this, and this is kind of, you'll see some of it in the videos if you watch them, how sometimes we step on each other's toes with the button presses. Because in this, the way that this is all set up, it's not that one person is set to trainer 1 and one person is set to trainer 2. You can control both at the same time. And so I might accidentally move the cursor while she's playing if I'm pressing something, which I shouldn't be. Now, this game's slow enough and you don't have to worry about that. You're going to choose your move, and then your friend can choose their move or whatever. But when you're trying to go through it pretty quick, you might accidentally press something on your friend's side that you didn't mean to. Have fun with it, enjoy, ask questions, and I'll see you around.